Inside pretty much every company, there's this hidden source of friction, one that's quietly killing growth. And it's not a bad product or a weak strategy. No, it's a deep, structural divide between the two teams that are supposed to be driving all the revenue. So today, we're going to unpack this fatal disconnection between marketing and sales.
And this image, which is based on the thinking of commercial director Marco Andretta, it just captures the whole issue perfectly. See, this isn't some minor tear we're talking about. It's a fundamental break right down the middle of the entire commercial engine, a clean fracture that just weakens the whole structure.
Okay, so this is a pretty provocative statement, right? A general manager of a big company actually said this, and it gets right to the heart of the debate. Who should be in charge? Should one team report to the other? Or is that even the right question to be asking in the first place?
To answer that, we first have to understand why this divide even exists. I mean, this design has been baked into how we do business for decades. And honestly, on the surface, it kind of seems to make sense.
This is such a great analogy for the problem. For years, marketing and sales have been treated like they're family, right? They're related. They're supposed to be aligned, but they've been raised in totally separate environments with different rules, different languages, and even different rewards for doing a good job.
And here's what those separate rooms look like in practice. On paper, it's logical. You've got marketing way upstream, building the brand, generating leads. And then you have sales downstream, closing deals and hitting their quotas. But look at how they talk. One team is all about engagement rates and MQLs, that's marketing qualified leads, while the other is focused on quarterly targets and profit margins. They're literally speaking different languages.
But here's the thing. In the real world, this nice, neat separation on an org chart, it creates a really messy, fractured experience for the one person who actually matters most, the customer. So let's look at the real cost of this division.
This is the crucial point. Your customer has absolutely no idea that your head of marketing and your head of sales sit on different floors, or that they have competing budgets. And you know what? They don't care. All they experience is one continuous journey with your company, and they expect one consistent story from beginning to end.
And this is exactly where that fracture happens. Marketing goes out and creates this compelling big picture promise. A customer sees it, they get excited, and they engage. But then they talk to a salesperson, and suddenly there's a disconnect. The conversation shifts from that big, exciting promise to the hard realities of pricing, features, and contracts. The whole journey just stumbles.
And this quote, man, this gets right to the root cause. All that daily friction you see, the complaints about lead quality, the arguments over messaging, that's not just a personality clash. It is a structural flaw. When you have two different leaders owning two adjacent parts of the exact same revenue engine, you've literally designed your company for misalignment.
And this flaw, it becomes incredibly expensive when speed is what matters. Imagine a competitor makes a move, or customer needs suddenly shift. Instead of a quick, decisive response, what happens? The company gets totally bogged down in internal negotiations between two departments. By the time marketing and sales finally agree on a plan, the opportunity is long gone. The market just doesn't wait.
Okay, so we've established the problem, right? Dual accountability creates a fractured customer journey, and it slows the whole company down. So the question is, what's the structural solution to this structural problem?
Well, the answer is structural unity. It's about creating a single point of accountability for the entire customer experience and for all revenue outcomes. This leader, whether you call them a chief revenue officer or a chief growth officer, they own the journey from the very first ad all the way to the final signed contract. And the key here is that this person has to be fluent in both languages, brand and revenue, promise and proof. It's not about just promoting the head of sales, it's about finding a leader who can orchestrate the entire commercial symphony.
And it is so critical to understand this. This isn't just about rearranging the org chart because it's the latest corporate trend. No, this is a fundamental redesign of the company's entire revenue architecture. It's built for the speed and the complexity of today's market, not the slower world of the past.
Think about it. The moment you put the entire revenue engine under one leader, the dynamics change instantly. All those competing metrics, they start to align. That big picture brand strategy is constantly being tested against the reality of what salespeople are hearing from actual customers. Accountability can't be passed back and forth anymore. And out of all of that, a single, shared commercial truth begins to emerge.
So, what does this single commercial truth actually look and feel like in the real world? What's the ultimate outcome when you unify this leadership?
First off, the goal isn't to create some powerful new dictator. It's not about marketing controlling sales or sales controlling marketing. It's all about creating strategic coherence, making sure that every single touchpoint,
Every message and every action is part of the same seamless story for the customer. This line just defines the ideal relationship perfectly. Marketing's job is to build the promise, the vision of value. And sales' job is to deliver the tangible proof that the promise is real. They are two essential forces that absolutely cannot be separated. They have to be orchestrated together. And when that orchestration happens, something really powerful emerges: trust. Internally, the teams start to trust each other. And externally, customers trust the company because the promise consistently matches the reality they experience. And that trust, that's the real engine of sustainable growth.
Because in the end, in a world that's defined by speed and integrated customer expectations, you need unity at the top. It demands one strategy.
It requires a single, clear path forward that everyone on the commercial team understands and can rally behind. One direction.
And finally, it all comes down to one accountable leader. Not for the sake of control, but for clarity, for coherence, and for the speed that you need to win.
So, that leaves us with one final question to think about. I want you to take a hard look at your own organization structure. Is your revenue engine designed with two competing pilots, creating inevitable friction? Or is it designed with a single unified vision built for clarity and for growth?